In a few months, this amazing woman, Shiro Massuru, will turn 60 years old. But if it's the first time you see her at the gym, age is the last thing you'll think about. She trains regularly, films herself after class, and continues to work on her body without trying to turn every workout into a struggle to wear out. But the most interesting thing about her story isn't even what she looks like at 60. And the fact that her approach to youth turned out to be surprisingly simple. No attempts to cheat age, no training until exhaustion and chasing records. Instead, there are a few principles that she repeats day after day, and that gradually change how strong and functional the body remains with age. And it is about them that you will learn in today's video. Therefore, watch this video to the end. It will be very interesting and useful. So, let's get started. First of all, sport is not a temporary project for her. It's part of everyday life. She trains steadily at the gym and perceives the next workout not as a punishment for eating dessert and not as an attempt to urgently change her appearance by the summer. Physical activity has become a habit for her. And this is where one of the most important principles of longevity lies. Our body does not respond well to rare bursts of activity followed by weeks of no movement. Regularity is much more valuable. You can spend one incredibly hard day at the gym and then barely move for a few days. But moderate physical activity is much more beneficial for health, which is repeated from week to week, month after month, and year after year. And here we come to the second principle of Shiro. It does not rely on huge weights. Her approach is much more interesting. Gradually increase the load and give the body time to adapt. In modern fitness, it is easy to fall into the trap when a person considers only the one after which he is completely exhausted to be a good workout. It seems that the heavier the weight, the more repetitions, and the more sore the muscles are the next day, the more effective the exercise is. But for long-term health, such a strategy is far from always reasonable. The body does not need maximum suffering, but a suitable stimulus. During strength training, the muscles receive a load, and then they recover and adapt. If the load gradually becomes a little more difficult, the body gets a reason to become stronger. It is the principle of gradual progress that allows you to develop over the years without having to arrange extreme training every time. And there is another interesting point. Shiro takes off his figure after training and shows the result of his work. At first glance, it's just a way to share progress. But from the point of view of habit formation, such fixation can have practical benefits. When a person sees the changes not only subjectively, but also visually, it is easier for him to notice the long-term result. This is especially important because physical fitness changes slowly. If you look at yourself every day, you can hardly notice the difference. But photos or videos taken from the same angle and at regular intervals allow you to see the changes much more objectively. And that brings us to one of the most underrated elements of her approach: recovery. You can train perfectly, gradually increase the load, and still not get the desired result if you constantly lack sleep and ignore fatigue. The training itself is only part of the process. The body must get time to repair the tissues, adapt to the load, and prepare for the next lesson. It is especially important to understand this with age. The body's ability to recover is individual, and it depends not only on the number of years, but also on the level of fitness, stress, nutrition, sleep, and general body condition. Therefore, the idea of you have to train every day, otherwise nothing will work out, is completely unnecessary for an ordinary person. And here comes another principle that can be seen in Shiro's attitude to sports. She knows how to enjoy the process itself. She doesn't treat every new day as another opportunity to punish herself with a workout. On the contrary, she enjoys the opportunity to play sports again. It seems like a psychological detail, but it is the attitude to the process that largely determines whether a person will be able to maintain the habit for decades. Imagine two situations. In the first one, a person trains because he hates his body and wants to change it as quickly as possible. Every workout becomes a responsibility. Every deviation from the diet causes guilt, and the lack of quick results leads to disappointment. If we look at all her habits together, we see a fairly simple system. Regular workouts create stress. A gradual increase in exercise gives the body an incentive to become stronger. Recovery allows you to adapt. Sleep helps the body to go through this process normally. And the pleasure of the activity itself increases the likelihood that a person will continue all this not for several weeks, but for many years. It turns out to be a kind of circle. You train, get a little stronger, notice progress, enjoy your opportunities, continue to practice, recover, and return to training again. And it is the length of this cycle that can make a huge difference, because longevity is rarely built on one grand decision. It's much more like an accumulation of small decisions that are repeated thousands of times. You decided to walk today instead of spending the whole evening sitting. We did a workout tomorrow. Then we slept well. We practiced again a few days later. A month later, they noticed that their usual weight had become lighter. A year later, they discovered that they had become stronger and more resilient. And 10 years later, these small actions have already turned into a completely different level of physical fitness. That is why you need to start taking care of your future body, not when serious limitations appear, but much earlier. And you can start from the minimum level. If you've never done strength training, you don't need to copy the program of someone who has been training for years. Start with the basic movements and gradually master the technique. Friends, what do you think of this woman? Write your opinion in the comments. If this video was useful to you, then please like it and share the link with those who might find it particularly useful. We also recommend watching this video that's currently appearing on your screen.